Hi, I'm Graham Blackburn, and this is Traditional Woodworking by Hand. And in this episode, we're continuing working our way through one of the many books that I've written. This one is Traditional Woodworking Hand Tools, and we're going to be talking about Quirk routers. This episode is very interesting because it's about something that you really can only do with hand tools. It's called Quirk routers. Now, a word about that. First of all, I should point out that if someone says router today, then they're almost certainly talking about an electric router because it's become so popular that it's usurped the term and no longer needs to be specially defined. But until electricity came along, if you said router, then you were talking about what we now have to call hand routers. What actually is a router? Well, supposedly the word comes from the same word that we use to describe what pigs do when they root through the ground looking for food. Because a router essentially removes something below the surface of a big piece of wood or a narrow piece of wood or whatever. The other interesting term about what we're talking about today is a quirk router. What is a quirk? Well, for most people, a quirk is something odd or unusual or a bit fine or whatever. But in woodworking, quirk has a very distinct meaning, and it refers to the narrow groove that frequently is used to set off a molding from the rest of the piece of wood. If, for example, you're looking at a doorway, you might want to round the edges of the casing so that you don't hurt yourself and the casing doesn't get damaged. And then to define that roundness, we cut a narrow groove. If you look over here at this cabinet here, you can see here's a corner bead and there is a quirk, right? So that's what a quirk router is. It's originally a hand tool designed to cut a groove inside a molding to set things off and make things clear. Now, what's the difference between a quirk router and today's modern electric router? Well, of course, as I've said before, if I suddenly had to route 200 feet of something, I'd be tempted to use the router table or the electric router. But I'm not really in the business of production. Most of the things that I do, and in fact most of the things that everybody did before the age of machinery and factories, were one-of-a-kind things. And so I can take my time to use a tool which, as I'll show you in a second, is many times better than what you can do with an electric router. The electric router will do something fast, and if you have a lot of it to do, that's all well and good, but it doesn't really do it as well as the hand router used to do. And moreover, there are a lot of things that it can't do. The router can, if it's guided properly, go round a circle, but it's hard to do that. And the other thing is that the router bit always revolves in the same direction, which means that if you're routing, putting a routing groove or a shape into the edge of a piece of wood, if you get to a point where the grain is going the other way, you could be in a lot of trouble. The hand router can adjust to all of those things. So let's look at some of these hand routers. Here is a very simple hand router. It's got two blades, and if you look closely, you can see that it's the same basic shape that you get on window sash, on the inside of window sash. you'll notice that the sole is curved. You'll notice that there's a left one and a right one. So what this is good for is that if I want to continue the molding on a piece of sash window that is curved, I can't do it with an electric router with any guarantee of perfect smoothness, but with this I can go left or I can go right. I can come and I can go. Now, talking about coming and going, there's something else I want to mention. Of the 4 basic rules of woodworking that we've talked about in the past, the most important one is what I describe as always cut away from yourself. Well, with routers and a few other odd tools like draw knives and draw shades and things, you actually end up cutting towards yourself, but you're still safe because both of your hands are typically on the tool. So even though you're coming towards yourself, you're not in any danger of cutting off. I just want to mention that because I can't say too many times how important it is to work safely so you keep all your fingers. Now, this is a basic molding router. It's the same actual shape as you see on the inside of a lot of sash. One step up from that is another router with a flat sole, but it has a fence. And if you loosen the screw here, you can put in different shaped bits that will cut different profiles. Right now, this will cut 2 little reeds, but it could be, as I'll show you in a second, it could be just a simple quirk for a corner bead. And the advantage of having the fence here is that once again, I can go left or I can go right. So if the grain varies on any particular piece of wood, then I have the opportunity to use the tool in the direction that will give me the best possible surface. Here is yet another quirk router. And these were all invented, by the way, once Stanley got into the game and we started to make metal tools, and some of the biggest firms that there were in the early days of metal tools, Preston and Malhewish and Stanley, they all made different things. And believe it or not, if you know what you're looking for, you can still find these because they made lots and lots of them. Here is one that makes a quirk. If you look very carefully at the actual blade, you'll see that it's in 2 parts. There's a little chisel on one side, and then on the other side, it's been filed in the middle to leave 2 little spurs, which means that when you use this, you use it with the spur side first that defines the groove, so that then as the other square edge engages the groove, you get a perfectly square cut. It also has fence, and you can turn this around. So you can come and you can go, making it, as I said before, possible to be able to plane wood regardless of the direction. Something that is lamentably missing from electric routers. Here is maybe top of the line. This was made by the firm Preston, and this has not only a curved sole, but it also has a removable blade that can be adjusted really nicely with a little depth stop. And of course, you can turn the blade upside down for another profile. You can turn it around. You can put the fence on the left side. You can put the fence on the right side. Right now, I have it fitted with a straight fence, but it also comes with 2 other fences, a convex and a concave. They thought of everything. And the advantage of all of these things, of course, is that apart from being quiet and safe and pleasant to use, it doesn't make sawdust or anything like that, you can plane any piece of wood the right way to get the perfect finish. Now, as I've mentioned before, around about the 70s, that was when there was a resurgence in handwork of all kinds, not just woodworking, all kinds of trades and crafts took a boost. And in woodworking, for the first time in almost 100 years, there were a number of firms who started to make what had been extinct for quite a long time. And probably chief among them was the firm Lee Nielsen. You can go to their website and see whatever. And Lee Nielsen also made what's essentially a Quirk router. And you can see that it has two fences, a straight fence, which you can put on either side, so you can use it coming or going, depending on the grade. And it also has a curved fence, which is really good for curved work, which you can't do very easily with an electric router. When Lee Nielsen did these, quite apart from making the fences adjustable, it also sold them with a whole range of different profiles. You can see the profiles over here. And here's a big corner bead, here's two double corner beads, and the reeds. You can use these to make quirks and beads at the edge, on the corner, or anywhere in the center of a piece of wood. And they also, just to remind you that you're supposed to be in charge, they gave you a blank one. Now, you can use this if you're doing restoration work. You've got a nice cabinet from the 18th century or the 19th century, and it's got a molding that you can't find any molding bits for anymore. You can duplicate that molding in a blank piece of metal, which Lee Nielsen actually gave you. But there's no reason why you can't use a piece of broken bandsaw blade or your kid's lunchbox. I should point out that the way to do that is that you carefully, whatever profile you want, whether it's just a corner bead with a quirk or whether it's actually some other kind of molding shape, you file the profile in the end of this piece, and then to sharpen it, you simply sharpen it perfectly flat on a sharpening stone on both ways. So aside from the fact that they give you a whole, a selection with double-ended profiles, there's no reason why you can't make your own. It's a little harder, if I don't really mean to be supercilious, but it's a little harder to make a router bit. But with one of these tools, you can duplicate any molding that was ever made and use it. Moreover, you can use it straight, and you can use it on any kind of curved surface, convex or concave. And you can do it in two planes, which is something else you can't do with an electric router. So I can totally recommend that once you, especially if you get the book and you look at in more detail there, that you can still find these. If you know what you're looking for, and they're not terribly expensive, but they will increase what you can do and how well you can do it tenfold over the electric router. Having said all that, I want to mention something that we have in fact mentioned before, and in one respect it's almost the opposite of all these sophisticated things. This is just a scrap piece of wood that I picked up off the shop floor. I sawed it in half, and then I screwed it together again with one of these little shaped pieces. Now, I could have used these, or I could have used a piece of, a broken bandsaw blade or something from my kid's toolbox or whatever, but I filed the shape that I wanted and I put it in between the two pieces, and you'll notice, if you look here, that it's right at the corner. But there's no reason why it couldn't be any distance from the edge. I could even make a series of reeds here. Something else that I did that makes this a rather sophisticated hand tool is that I took the trouble to round this surface, which means that I can make whatever this shape is on a round surface. I also took the trouble to round this surface, so I can go this way round. look what that enables me to do, which I absolutely cannot do with an electric router. Here's a lid, and I wanted to make the edge round, and I wanted to define it. So because this is round, I can cut that molding around here, and then I can turn it over and I can cut this molding. So I now have a corner bead on a circular piece with a nice quirk on either side. So after all of these, then you could actually get by with just one of these. This is called a scratch stock. Anyway, I hope you found that enjoyable, and don't forget, you can always go to my website where you can buy any of the books that I've written, and I'll send them to you signed. And you can also find out about coming here to take lessons to do that. So don't forget to subscribe. Go to the website. Happy routing, happy quirk routing, and we'll see you soon with another episode. Thank you.